welcome to a very special edition of 2-Minute Art Tips. This one we're calling Conversations Adjacent a Cacti with our special guest, Cheap Joe Miller. And today we'll be talking about the new book that was written by Noyes Long, especially about Cheap Joe himself. And so we have our very special guest here to tell us all the good goods.
All right.
Yeah.
Hi, Julie.
How are you?
Good. Glad to be here.
Good. Me too. I'm excited.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. I got to read the book just in the past couple of days and enjoyed it a lot. And even though I've known you a very long time, there's a whole lot of interesting stuff in there that I didn't know.
Oh.
You know, about you, like your early childhood and fun stuff that you did. And didn't know about your uncle's hotel,
Yep.
you know, and how you worked there. But I tell you what, it explains a lot about you, about the early entrepreneurship and, you know, knowing the value of things. So
Right.
it was cool.
Good.
You know.
Thank you.
Yeah. And so how old were you when you started tying flies and doing all that?
I was probably 10 or 11.
Mm-hmm.
I had been taught to fly fish by a local fellow in Boone, and he tied flies.
Right.
And so I thought that would really be fun. And he ended up, my father and mother bought me the fly tying kit, the vise and everything. And my parents were so supportive of everything I did. But I tied enough flies by the age of about 12 that the local angler's place, which was actually Farmer's Hardware, asked me if I wanted to sell some. And I was so excited about it. So they bought them for 12.5 cents a piece and sold them for $0.25.
I love that. I was so amazed.
Yeah.
It's just funny because kids today, they get interested in stuff and 15 minutes later they're on to something else. And I you know, thought it was really interesting that that was something that you were motivated with and just kept up with for a long time.
Yep.
Yeah. And also the taxidermy.
Yeah, I did taxidermy for a long time. Even after college, I did some taxidermy with my boys and for other people. So that was I've had a lot of fun hobbies.
Yeah.
That turned into a semi-business, I guess you'd call it. Taxidermy one winter, my dad and I mounted over 50 deer heads.
Whoa.
Yeah. He was so excited about it, about as much as me. And he helped me skin the deers and everything. And he bought a little house, a little 4-room house, very small, and had it moved there to our property in Perkinsville.
Yeah.
Where we lived. And that was my taxidermy shop.
I saw that in the book and I was thinking how amazing that is.
Yeah, I was at 14 or 15 to have your own taxidermy shop.
Well, yeah, and then also to be the youngest. I mean, because, you know, you've got 3 older brothers and sisters, and I just was kind of surprised because so many parents, when they get to the youngest, they kind of peter out on energy. They're like, yeah, you do whatever you got to do. But it seemed like your parents were so supportive and encouraging of everything.
Yeah, they were.
You know. So I mean, I just thought that was extremely cool and not like you see, you know, with the youngest.
Right.
You know, because they're kind of underwhelmed by the time the youngest does anything.
I'd never thought of that. I never felt like the youngest. I never felt like that I was spoiled or anything. I don't know why, but I never did. And I really was spoiled because everything I'd start, they'd jump right in on. Yeah, I mean, you had an incredible amount of encouragement. And,
I did. Yeah, support. And,
and
not only just from your parents, because I've read several things about how young people, one of the things that differentiates successful young people as adults is that they have a supportive adult outside of their family unit that shows interest in them.
Yeah.
And you had several, not only from the gentleman that taught you about tying flies, but also from the people at the pharmacy who helped you kind of push you in the direction that you ended up going.
Yeah. Yeah, I was in school for taxidermy at the University of Iowa.
Yeah. And odd choice, I think.
Yeah. Oh, by choice. I couldn't wait to get there and do it. It was a great summer. And I had 2 professors. One of them was named Walt Teege, and the other one was John Roner. And Walt has been dead some years now. John Rohner's 95 years old and living in a, I guess it's an assisted living place in Denver, Colorado. And we still stay in touch. He was an amazing individual. Not only was he an expert taxidermy who had done work for the Smithsonian, he also was an engraver. And he would take a gun or a pistol or a rifle and engrave deer and elk and moose on it. You've seen engraved guns. Yeah. He became the epitome. And so he engraved guns for every president from the Bushes on that had hunted or fished or whatever. He had done them, and ended up he engraved the coin Sacagawea. He engraved that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, isn't it? Something. He was something else.
I was also curious about your uncle's hotel where you worked as a kid.
Yeah.
Now, was that down the hill from your mom and dad's?
Yes.
In Perkinsville? Now, does it still exist on
the
road that leads
hotel is still there.
Yeah, I thought that has to be the one.
Oh, it is the one.
When I read about it.
It's very run down.
Yeah, but it's cool. I wish somebody would do something meaningful with it, because it's amazing.
Yep, it is.
It's a cool building. Yeah. But, yeah, how long did you do that?
Oh, probably from 10 years old to 18 till I went to college. And Estel was his name, Uncle Estel. And I learned a lot of business stuff from him that you don't even think about business stuff. But one time I remember my cousin Elaine, who was about my age, and I were manning the desk. We loved doing that.
Yeah.
When he would go to dinner. And a car pulls up, and there's a salesman. And so we told him we had a room, and how much was it? It was $7. I'll never forget. And he said no, said I can give you $5. And we let him go on. And we told Estel about it, and Estel said, no, that's a real mistake. He said, you want to keep them. We want to fill the motel. You should have let him have it for $5. Well, from then on, I thought, wheeling, dealing, and anything will work.
Better to have $5 than no dollars.
That's right.
Yep.
Yeah.
You went to UNC for pharmacy school, came right
Chapel
back to
Hill.
Boone,
Yep.
and had the sweetest gig alive at Boone Drug.
Yeah.
And so how long were you officially a member of the board there at Boone Drug?
Until, I think, somewhere around 1996.
Okay.
And I had two wonderful partners, Jim Furman and John Stacy, and I sold my third to them. This was after I had started Cheap Joe's in the drugstore.
Right.
And it was part of the drugstore.
Yeah.
And Cheap Joe's was just booming. We were growing so fast, and yet we were still very, very small. But I had to make a decision, because I was being torn. Do I stay in the pharmacy or do I go with art? And I chose art. And I don't have any regrets about it. And the drug stores, Boone Drug Incorporated, has been extremely successful. When I left, I think we had 6 stores, and today they have 21. So it's unusual for an independent pharmacy to survive today, because Walgreens, CVS, they're hard competition.
That's right.
But what they don't have is the human touch. The one-on-one. And I used to tell people, a pharmacist is the only medical person that you can just walk up to and start talking and say, I've got this rash, what would you think that is? And do you think poison ivy, maybe, and they can help you. So I had a wonderful career in pharmacy. I had a great following of customers. And I still see people all the time that say, you filled my prescriptions, and I'll never forget what you put on the label. Because I was always putting something stupid or silly on the label, which today would get you put in jail.
Well, that was the added bonus.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was the cool thing about coming to the pharmacy, because I remember it from being a kid.
Yep.
About going in there, there's always a hubbub and laughing and fun stuff going on. And I thought it was an interesting dichotomy, because sometimes when you go to the pharmacy, you ain't feeling so hot. you know,
Yeah.
but a lot of times getting to see people that you know and having a laugh over it while you're waiting on your prescription, it makes you feel a little bit better.
Sure.
You know, so
Yeah.
that's the thing that differentiated it from the stagnant pain that going to a regular pharmacy is like. You know, it's just embarrassing and arduous and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the book, it was talking about some of your antics, chapters about the whims of Joe. Yeah.
Yeah.
And but it was funny because there was some stuff in there that like I knew, but I had forgotten about your birthday antics when a customer would come in and you knew it was their birthday, and the accordion, you know, serenade that accompanied their birthday. And I remember you doing that for my mom a couple of times.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, and she was mortally embarrassed but laughed about it for months afterwards, you know.
Yeah.
So
I still have the accordion. It's actually not an accordion. It's called a something box. It's just a little thing. And I could not play a note on it because it was just all squeak
it sounded
box.
like a
That's why it's
strange
called
cat.
a squeak box. And it squeaked.
Yeah.
That's all I could do. But I had this stupid wig, and I had a couple of mustaches I could glue on or stick on, and a coat that was just awful. The coat was bright orange and black, little dots, and you couldn't look at it. I mean, it was hard to focus on it. And I'd put that all on, and I would go over to the birthday person, and I would ask them, you know, it's your birthday, and I have a little gift for you. And they'd say, really? I say, yep, I'd like to give you one of our world famous barometers. And they would always say, really? And I'd say, yep. I said, we have walnut, oak, and cherry. Which one would you like to have? And with a straight face. And they'd say, oh, we can't accept that. That's too much. I said, no, you'll want it. You'll love it. And they'd say, I'll have cherry. I say, okay. I'd go back to the pharmacy, and then I'd turn, because I had them with me. And I'd turn around and go back immediately, and I'd pull them out, 3 of them. And they're little paper this big with a mule on it and his tail hanging out. And it says, if tail is moving, windy, if tail is wet, rainy, etc. And I'd say, this is walnut, and this is... And most everybody laughed and got a big laugh. Occasionally somebody would say, that's just stupid. That's not wood. But it was fun.